Welcome to the Invisible India podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Abhishek. We are a cross-cultural couple doing life in India, exploring the lesser-known mysteries of Indian culture,
Interviewing fascinating figures who have chartered new territories, and sharing life as we raise our multicultural family amongst the complexities of modern Indian life. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to read a question from a listener. So today's question is from Laura, and she is asking, what is it like to make friends as a foreigner in India? This is one of my favorite things to answer when people ask me, how do you feel people accept you or don't accept you? And I would say that I have been very blessed to have people really accept me, really show a lot of kindness to me. I'm a person, I'm pretty outgoing. I don't mind looking like an idiot or making mistakes, putting myself out there as much. India is a place where people really are very interested in foreigners, and people are always asking, where you're from and what do you do, and because I'm a woman, of course this is very important. Are you married? शादीशुदा है? कितने बच्चे हैं? कितने बड़े बच्चे हैं आपके? क्या नाम है बच्चा का? People are always asking, what's your kid's name? How old are they? People are just very interested immediately in your family and in a lot of personal details of your life, which in other countries is a little bit weird to ask somebody, how many brothers, sisters do you have? Kitne bhai behan hai aapke? That's a very weird question. In Western culture, that's very personal almost, and that's not as important to really know about the person, but in India it is. So I find that if you're willing to answer these kind of questions, if you're willing to answer questions that are maybe a little uncomfortable for you, then people can really relate to you and can just learn something about you and the way you see the world. And you can learn also to ask people questions that make them feel like you want to know them. I really feel that making friends in India is very easy, on the surface level at least. But getting the really deep friendships with people that really understand you as an outsider or someone that's from a different culture, I would say that is definitely a more long-term and process that takes a lot of persistence, dedication. Very excited to share with you part 2 of my conversation with Abhishek and Natasha from Two Idiots Travel. Link to their website is in the show notes, and be sure to check it out. This is part 2 of a conversation that I had with them about their almost 9-month travel around the world with their toddler. And they are the authors of How to Travel with Kids Without Losing Your Mind. Hope that you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. Be sure to listen all the way to the end, because they graciously offered to give away a copy of their ebook to listeners of our podcast. So be sure to listen all the way to the end to figure out what you need to do to get a chance to win their book. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the positive aspects first. So what were some of the life is beautiful moments that you had on your 8.5-month journey around the world?
That's a good question.
That's a very loaded question. I'm like,
it is a loaded question. Just wow, this is so beyond what I imagine that we could experience. And it can be anything.
Yeah. Let me talk about maybe one of my favorite moments with Arav. And this is us in a safari in Botswana. I think as parents, you're always trying to educate your child. You're helping them learn, whether it's words or numbers, letters, whatever it may be, right? And we were in Botswana. First of all, taking a safari with a child is a slightly scary thought. But we were at a kid-friendly park to do it in. We found a private tour and driver to accommodate our schedules, and we go out there and we leave the camp, and it's literally been, I think, 3 minutes. We've been out, and we see this herd of elephants come by. It's really stunning, right, to see elephants in the wild, to begin with, where you are in their home. Arav looks up and he sees that and he says, "Elephant," for the first time. And the was I had one because this was the first time we saw elephants. So I had my phone on, and you can you record this whole moment. To me, I recall that moment, and I say, that probably would not have happened at home, even at a zoo, because the proximity, the number of elephants, the situation, it was just so overwhelming for him that he finally used the word elephant for the first time, and he learned probably more than he did. And so for me, that was beautiful. It was one of my beautiful moments. There's several.
Yes. And like you were saying, right, just seeing the joy that a child brings to a travel situation and makes it so much more meaningful for you. What about you, Natasha? Any standout moments?
So it's funny because I am trying to find all the moments I felt content on the trip. You know that feeling you get when you see your family in one place and there's this really fulfilling content feeling. And so I have a lot of moments of that I find very fulfilling about the trip. Because the big moments are great and they're and after a while it was like, oh wow, this is so amazing, this is so amazing. But there were times in the evening when you realize you don't have a schedule. There is no rush. Because I am such a structured person. I literally think I run a schedule in my head all day, every a lot of parents. And just being able to sit down at dinner and not feeling rushed and being able to just take as long as you want and not having to be okay, you got to eat up, you got to put you to bed, you got to do this and got to do that. Those evening dinners, especially because we would just try to have, go to a restaurant dinner at night. I found those dinners, that feeling of content come at those dinners, and it was just really lovely. It made me feel safe. I think that's the best way I can put it. It made me feel content and safe, and I don't feel content very easily. So I think those moments I remember probably the most.
That is incredible, just to hear you synthesize it that way. That experience and that feeling is not easily recreatable anywhere but on vacation, right? And anywhere. And when you're doing the trip for so long, I imagine that sometimes you might feel like, man, I just want my schedule. I just want my structure. I just don't want to have to plan every single day or, look up every restaurant that we're going to go to. I just want to have some routine. So did you find yourself feeling stressed out because of the ambiguity that travel requires it sometimes? Or, how did you guys deal with that?
I definitely did feel stressed out about that. I think I missed my friends. I just have a group of friends, and when you're traveling with your spouse and your child for 8.5 months and you're spending all your time, especially with your spouse, you need space. Yeah. So I need space, and my friends were not there, so I would FaceTime them and try to find some time. And I'm just a creature of habit. And I just like my bed, and I like my closet. So there are things that I would, I think once I decided to post on Facebook, we were in Sydney in some airport, and I was like, oh, these lucky few people are going back to their homes. It's so nice because home is such a great feeling, and somebody, I think one of my friends posted, okay, stop. You're not getting any sympathy from us, because I think people think of travel as such an aspirational thing all the time. They don't realize that when you've been traveling for 8.5 months, for someone like me, not so much Abhishek maybe, for someone like me, I start missing home. And I start missing the comfort of home. So that's the reason I was saying those feelings of content at dinner were so great for me, because I did feel like, oh, it's not the home that I'm missing. This is the time I'm going to miss. So, yeah, but I definitely, at the end of the trip, I was just, I think when we landed in South America and I saw an American airline flight, it made me emotional, which is such a bizarre thing,
Yeah.
American flights making you emotional at all. They would never make me emotional, but it almost made me emotional. I was like, I'm on Eastern Standard Time, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that was the complete opposite. I did not initially. I was skeptical on coming back. The trip was my idea. The good news, Natasha, speaking of planning, Natasha did not have to plan, even though she did. She was our organizer. She had pack and organize and make sure things went smoothly. I helped organize it, but I loved doing it, and I loved figuring out where to go and what to eat and what to see, etc. And so for me, it was a dream that I had been thinking about for several years at that point. And so I did not want to come back. I was okay with the schedule and lack of structure. I'd like to think I had good friends too, but I figured they would be here when I got back. I was not as concerned about that and really just trying to soak it all in.
They were all here for us. Yeah. I miss them more.
She definitely.
In that similar vein, what were some of the stressful moments and since we're talking about authenticity, what were some of the not so glamorous moments on this 8.5 month journey?
I can start, and Natasha will definitely add it. I think Natasha mentioned this. Traveling with your spouse for 8.5 months is not easy. When you're at home and you fight, you can easily go to a different room or walk away or go call a friend up or do something like that. But when you're on a cruise ship and there's no reception and you're stuck in the same room and you really can't go somewhere else because your child will throw a fit, you fight and you have to resolve it, right? So what was interesting for us was I felt like we fought a lot on the trip, especially initially. But the fact that we were together and we really didn't have anywhere else to go, even though Natasha, this is sort of funny. There were several on the trip. We fought, and then Natasha gets on kayak, and she starts looking at flights to Charlotte from the most random places right around the world.
Just think of a spot. Every time we had a really big fight, I'm like, I'm out of this.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then she always picks first class for some reason.
That's my big effort.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I always used to say, but if you're going, we all are coming. She's like, no, I'm the only one that needs to go. I'm like, no, then Arav needs to come with you, and I'm coming too. But we used to, it's interesting.
I never booked it, just FYI.
Yeah, she never booked it.
It was your escape mechanism.
What I'm about to do.
Yeah. I think she put a credit card in too. But but we fought a lot. We resolved fights, and I feel like, and this is true after coming back, I feel like, towards the end of the trip, we got a whole lot better with the way we communicated and the way we saw, things going south. And even after coming back, I felt like we fought, even though I think my parents might disagree or her mom might disagree. I feel like we fight a whole lot less and we resolve things a whole lot quicker.
We fight better.
We fight better.
Yeah, we fight better. We fight better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of lots of fun things.
Yeah.
What else?
Abhishek is very clumsy. I think he almost lost his wallet 3 times in an international country. Forgot a bag, sitting on the curb. Yeah, in Argentina. It was Chile, I think.
Chile.
Yeah, so it's happened a couple of times. And the big one for me, one of the most stressful moments of my life, is when we almost missed our cruise in Bangkok. So it was so stressful because we're seasoned travelers and it was a cruise and Bangkok was far away from the port. And we decided to take the bus there, but the bus from the cruise ship always comes back early and we think we can handle it. So we decided to take some kind of cab service. I think
Uber.
We did Uber, which I don't know if Bangkok allows or not, but whatever. And we're coming back and we missed an exit and all hell broke loose. And the cruise ship is calling us. We're lost. We don't speak the language. By the time we reach the port, it's just great. It's a port it's a big freaking airport port. It's not
bigger than airports.
Bigger than airports. It's humongous. It has 10 terminals and 10 different ships. And
wow.
We were lucky we made it, but it scared the crap out of me.
I think we got to our ship at R or so late.
Yeah.
And we were lucky because other tours were late. And so they don't, they'll wait on their excursions.
Yeah, we were lucky. But
yeah.
It was so terrifying that every time I think of getting off the cruise, our book has tips on how to make sure that this does not happen to you. So
Yes. Oh man, that does sound very stressful.
It was
very.
We have to start thinking. Our passports are with the ship. All of our stuff is in the ship. How do you figure out like where to go? What do you buy? How do you make the flight so you can catch the ship in the next destination? I mean, all these thoughts go through it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Stressful situation. I mean, traveling is, full of stress. The losing of wallet is always the most stressful thing. But I think that cruise day was pretty stressful.
Yes. Oh man, I feel.
Yeah.
I can relate with you in that we had a really terrible debacle it was a year ago now, where all of our passports and residency cards for India, computer, phone, wallet, bunch of documents were stolen, and it was like the worst thing I've ever gone through in my life. So travel is definitely not without its stresses.
Well, like anything, like most things in life, not anything, but most things in life where it's stressful in the moment, you learn a ton from it, but then you can laugh about it later. And you can say, man, great experience.
Yeah, the Bangkok thing I can laugh about, but it's left a memory in my head of when I need to go back to the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about how you guys grew closer as a couple. You talked about how you learned to deal with stressful situations. I mean, you guys are already a multicultural family. You have lived in several different countries. You speak multiple languages. But I imagine that even as a multicultural family, your picture of the world got even bigger. What were some of the big picture cultural takeaways that you have with you?
I think we had traveled a lot before, before Arav also. And I find that something that gets reinforced all the time, that people around the world are actually all the same in some ways. They all just want the same things. They all want like safety, security, they want to provide for their family. They all just want to live good lives. Like they might be speaking a different language and doing it differently, but they all kind of want the same thing. It's just like sometimes you think of people in different countries as so different. And then you get there and they're like, oh, I just want my kid to have a great education. And you're like, yeah, that's what I want for my kid too. And that's really it.
Yeah.
So I'm always surprised by how similar everyone is more than how different they are.
I think, yeah, that's a good one. And, for me, and this is sort of like piggybacking on this point, one of the more seminal experiences I had, when people ask us what are most like kid-friendly countries when you travel the world, where, I would say, we always put Spain on top of the list, but, a lot of people expect that. Like a lot of places in Europe, especially Southern Europe, are like just super kid-friendly. And then one of the other countries we mentioned is China. And, this was like super surprising to a lot of people, especially the US, considering some of the tensions that are happening in today's world between the States and China. But when we went to China, it was weird to see how much people loved and adored our son. Grandmothers were concerned for whether he was too cold.
Yes.
Teenagers came up and asked if they could take pictures with Arav, not us. The craziest experience we had was, we're at a restaurant, right? This is in Beijing. We go to eat at a hot pot restaurant. It's one of the top hot pot restaurants in the country, in the city. And we walk in and they say they said it's like a 1 hour wait. And we're like, that's fine. In China, it's cool. If you wait, they give you a spot and you can get manicures done and all these fun little things
fancy
done.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and so we take a spot expecting to wait for an hour, and they come and call us in 10 minutes. And I think a part of it was because we had a child with us. They gave us a table very.
And he was asleep.
Right? And so it gets even better. So we get to our table. He's sleeping in the stroller. Natasha and I are looking at the menu and stuff. And, we look up and, we expect the waiter and folks to come. And instead, we see a couple of folks moving a crib, like basically rolling a crib to our table.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this? Like, restaurant an actual like big
crib,
like wooden crib on wheels to our table because they saw the child was asleep and like, all right, let's get a crib so we can put him in
the crib.
In the crib. And of course, up then he throws a fit and we try and get him calmed down. And he's not really eating any of the food there. And so this is like every 10 minutes, they are bringing a different type of
food that he might eat.
Yeah, they bring fruits, they bring carrots, and they're literally like huddling together to try and figure out how do you get him to eat food. They bring him toys.
Yeah, I think they were more concerned about his food than we were. We were like, we're just going to give him chips. It's okay.
And pistachios. Yeah. If he's decided not to eat, like what his snacks are.
Whatever.
But it was incredible. Like to watch that type of care for the child from some other country was amazing for us.
And that was to my first point. Like when you travel around the world, you see how much people care for kids and how much of they don't consider them a nuisance at a restaurant. Because I think sometimes you start thinking that way, especially I think specifically living in the US. It's amazing how embracing and great people are about, people who are visiting their country, and they're such gracious hosts. Of course, there are bad people everywhere, but most of the times when you go to another country, people are just very, they want to educate you about their culture. That's that's their favorite thing to do. Like, who doesn't love that?
Wow, that's incredible. I love hearing that. And I feel that that's some of the things that traveling like this does is totally opens up your worldview and breaks major stereotypes. And so that's such a valuable thing that you guys are bringing is to help other people to understand new ways of thinking, having more curiosity about other cultures and other places. Really appreciate you saying that, sharing your stories. One last question. So we talked about how you guys relate to each other a little bit, not differently, but just relating to each other in a slightly different way after having such a different experience. So what did you guys each learn about yourselves on this journey and through this process?
In spite of my structure and in spite of how much I wanted, I am able to embrace challenges and be a little more flexible as a person, as a parent, and as also a wife. Because I am extremely structured in my head and I like things very organized. I was willing to let go of it, find a way to find structure in the chaos. If you had asked me this 10 years ago, if I had taken such a trip, I would have said no. And, I'm also very afraid of flying. I don't think people understand that, and they're always surprised to hear it.
Wow.
I am terrified of turbulence on a flight, and given I did get turbulence on a plane, but I'm always surprised by how I can push through it. So I always, realize like how I can push through things, I can accept challenges, and people are always stronger than they think they are. And when they're put in a situation, they definitely learn how to deal with it. It's good to put yourself in challenging situations because you will be surprised. You will always surprise yourself. So I think I surprised myself by surviving the trip.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, like from my perspective, Natasha, I'm super proud of Natasha. She did like crazy stuff that, like taking a helicopter ride with our son screaming.
He screamed for 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes straight, like, and then she's terrified of heights too at the same time, like. And there's a lot of experiences that we had that, like, for me is not a big deal, but for Natasha is a huge deal. And she started off negatively or like scared.
Yeah.
But then eventually like willed herself to actually do it and go through it. And so I'm a little like, I think one of the big things I learned about ourselves is I feel like her and I together can do anything.
Yeah.
Because we complement each other, we can support each other, and we eventually get through it. So even when situations come up, and I remind her all the time, like, hey, we've done a trip. We left our jobs. We took a trip around the world. Like, this is not a big deal, right? Because we've done worse and we've done more. So I think it gave us strength as a couple.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing I was probably concerned about was, I knew I would love the trip, and my love for travel has only increased after taking a trip like this. One thing I learned was, I always thought, we delayed having kids because we wanted to travel.
Yeah.
And when people get married, they're like, "Oh, I want to travel and do this and that, and then I'll have kids," right? And I look back, and there's no reason to delay.
Yeah, we could have had kids earlier.
We could have had kids earlier and travel, right? And the other thing that was interesting for me was I was really worried, and this is probably more of a personal thing. You leave a job, you put sort of your career on hold, and you really don't have a plan of coming back. I was always worried at some level, like, what would that be like? Would I regret doing this and taking a trip like this? It's such a big decision to leave earning a livelihood and like future security, whatever you want to call it. And, we did it. And, I came back and I'm doing other things, and the things I'm doing are even more exciting than some of the things I was doing before. And, I just realized like, it was a good decision to follow my heart and to pursue things. And as Natasha said, like, I have no doubt we'll be taking on a trip like this in the next few years. And we hope to take a few more of these trips before we die. As a family before we die.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful and such a great concluding thought. I feel like as Americans, or probably more Americans than other Westerners, we do have this like thing wrapped up with our jobs and our identity. And part of it is not really our fault because our health insurance and like everything is tied to our job. But we do have this sense of fear when it comes to being unemployed, right? So I really appreciate you saying that, and just your story of taking the risk and leaving it and taking some time to explore and have adventure, and then coming back and having new perspective and choosing a different lifestyle that matches your values in a new way. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, we love having these conversations with other people who are, think like-minded.
So where can we find you? I'm going to put all the links in the show notes, but where can people follow you, and where can people find your book?
Yeah, so I would, to follow us, the best thing is just to go to our website, 2 idiotstravel.com. Our book is available on Amazon. We have paperback available in a limited number of countries, but, we have the Kindle edition available, I think, throughout the world. And just search for How to Travel with Kids Without Losing Your Mind. Or if you go to our website, we have links to the book as well.
Great. And you guys are on social media. You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. Anywhere else people can find you?
Pinterest. So we're on Pinterest.
Okay.
The Two Idiots. I think you search for the Two Idiots Travel blog.
So you guys have graciously offered to do a book giveaway for listeners of the Invisible India podcast. So in the next 1 month from the release date until 1 month after, we are going to randomly select one comment. So if you comment on any of the Invisible India social media pages, or if you give a review on iTunes or whatever medium you listen to podcasts on, we'll select one random comment or review, and Abhishek and Natasha will send you a free copy of their ebook, which is incredible. I really want to recommend your book just very earnestly to people who are thinking about traveling, even if you're going on a shorter trip or a series of trips, or if you're doing something more extensive. I really think you guys have a lot to share. So I would recommend that book to everyone. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for being on the podcast and for what you do and what you bring, what perspective you bring. I really am so glad that you could share with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.